pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting will come to order. Okay. And in the interest of social distancing and Governor Mills' social distancing limitations, members of the public strongly encouraged to participate electronically. Below is an invitation. For any member of the public that wish to join us on a Wednesday, and it is the login time is 6:15 Eastern Time, US and Canada. Pre-registration to join the Zoom meeting is http://crossroads-tv.com/zoomreghtml. All right, before we start and go on to that, I would like to invite up to the podium Representative Rudnicki, who has a special thing to do.
Thank you, Mr. Pachani. I have something here to present to Peter Lawrence on behalf of the legislature. It is a legislative sentiment, and I will read it to you. Be it known to all that we, the members of the Senate and House of Representatives, join in recognizing Peter Lawrence of Fairfield for his 33 years of military service. Mr. Lawrence served in the Maine National Guard from 1985 to 2018, retiring with the rank of Sergeant First Class, and served in the global war on terrorism, including Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom. We extend our appreciations and best wishes, and be ordered that its official expression of sentiment be set forth on behalf of the 130th Legislature and the people of the state of Maine. And it has been signed by the Senate President Troy Jackson and Ryan Fecto, and this was introduced by myself and co-sponsored by Senator Scott Searway.
Very good. Go right up there, sir.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you for your service.
Congratulations.
All right. Now we'll move on to public announcements. Details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. First order was nomination papers for MSAD number 49 school board are due back on April 9th for the June 8th, 2021 election. Please contact the town clerk for details. Annual spring cleanup. It is scheduled for Monday, May 17th through Friday, May 21st. Third order of business, public comments. That limits 3-minute equivalent to a public speaking. Members of the public may email comments for the council at info@fairfieldme.com by 4 p.m. day of the meeting on any topic or agenda item, and items may be read aloud at this time. Were there any items? No items to be said. We'll go to the fourth order of business, which is report from staff and committees. First report will be the town manager's report.
All right. So on March 11th, I attended the KRGA marketing meeting. The new entrance signage for the park is in its final stages of design and approval. And then also, if you're not aware, T-Mobile is looking to hire approximately 300 new employees. So that is a good boost to the region. On March 15th, I did attend the Maine Department of Marine Resources public hearing regarding the Kennebec River Management Plan. We can discuss that later in your agenda. March 17th, the Board of Assessment Review did meet and elected Andrew Carlton as its new chairman, and they have meetings coming up in the future. March 22nd, I met with the Executive Director of KV-COG. We discussed projects such as the expansion of public drinking water, the Shawmut Dam and its impact on recreational activities, housing needs, and possible other grant opportunities. So that was a very good meeting. And then just an update on some projects and things that we're working on. One, Staff are researching the efficiency main incentives for electric vehicles. There was a very nice article in this month's Maine Town and Cities magazine that described how some towns have managed to acquire these vehicles at little to no cost to them. So we are looking at those for some of our non-emergency vehicle needs. Also, I had followed up on the question from last meeting regarding the reopening of Willow Street at the railroad crossing. Nathan Moulton from MDOT is the Director of Office and Freight and Passenger Services. He worked with the town when the crossings were closed, and he does still work there, which is sometimes unusual with these things. He has emailed me, so I sent him the questions, and he has emailed me back stating that this would be new ground for him, and quote, "I have never closed one and then reopened a short time later. The short answer is that the town could petition the department to create a new crossing since the old one no longer exists. Under state statutes, there is a process for this. I would note that FHWA, Federal Highway Administration, who paid for the crossing closure and improvements made to the other crossings, may ask for their safety incentives back, which is $1 million plus if this was to be reopened. Certainly they would oppose the reopening. So my question is whether or not you want me to continue to go forward with that and look into it. There was no official documentation that we signed or anything that was filed or that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
just something for you to think about.
I would, I'll just take one step further in that. I've talked to both the school, the bus garage, and also to LN Violet, who owns the land around there. They are actually both in favor of opening it. Would take a lot off of the downtown traffic, and the school buses would have a direct route back to the high school instead of having to go down through the stoplights and all that stuff. But, you know, I think in pursuing what you're doing, that's a little bit costly.
We'll keep looking into it, but it sounds like it's going to be a bit expensive.
Yeah.
And then also finally, I did receive word today from DEP that some of the test results have come back on the homes that have received their filtration systems, and the lab results indicated that the PFAS amounts are not detectable, which is really good news on some of these. I don't know exactly where they're located, and they're of course waiting on a bunch more, but that is actually some very good news. So,
Awesome.
And that's it for me.
Okay. Moving on, committee reports. Go for it, Steph.
Monday night, the Budget Committee for the county met, and we went through the budget, the first read-through. We'll have another meeting where we'll vote for it.
Yep.
But preliminary outcomes look like there's a 0.4% increase over last year's budget, and our responsibility will be basically the same as we had last year. The big snafu in the budget this year is the jail, and it's been quite an education for me to see how the jail is run and where the inmates are coming from, and so there's a lot of red flags as for the financial aspect of funding the jail and making sure that in 2028, when the bond is up, we're not going to be having to pay a lot more for this endeavor. So I'll have more at our next meeting. Hopefully it will pass. And
Yeah.
But I think they've done a nice job personally in trying to maintain the budget at a almost 0% increase. So
Yeah, they always do. I've been there in the past on that, and the jail is a toughie.
it is
Yep.
a toughing. Yeah.
Okay.
And then for economic and community development, the
Right.
last item on the agenda today, I'll talk about that.
When do you want to talk about it?
Well, we have a resolution, so I'll give you the background then
Okay.
on what's happening.
All right. Any other committee reports? No. All right. Moving on to the fifth order of business, which is our consent agenda. And these items are considered routine or standard business, and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered sequentially on the agenda. All right, this will be item 21-42, ordered that the town council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting 2021-05 held on March 10th, 2021. Item 2143, order that the town council hereby approves the treasurer's warrant number 57 general fund in the amount of $274,571.21. Not limited to but including SCBA fire equipment, grant-funded CMP, motor vehicle, MSAD 49, fuel, and group dynamics. And item 2144, ordered that the town council hereby approves and signs a certificate of commitment in the amount of $157,920 for the third quarter fiscal year sewer billing for the period of 1/1/2021 to 3/31/2021.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Passes unanimous. Moving to the sixth order of business, to take action on the following items of business as read by the council chair. Item 2145, order that the town council hereby considers and awards bids received for paving and reclaim.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Anybody with anything?
I think Bruce had his statement.
Yeah, he did.
So if he's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah, he's recommending Cavestone.
Pardon?
He's recommending
No, he's recommending Wellman.
Wellman paving.
Wellman paving.
Oh,
yes.
I'm on the wrong sheet.
Yeah, that's all right. And we've got a good list of streets here. I don't know if you want
So,
to read the streets, or?
yeah, so we received 6 bids, and Wellman Paving is the lowest bidder at $305,074.50. This would cover, well, your public works director is on here, he can tell you, but I can read these off. So,
Yeah,
continuing with our in-town reclaim and surface pavement project with the undesignated fund money. So of course, remember, these projects are funded by your funding that's going to happen in July. But it's Connor Ave, Gerald Terrace, Brook Street and West Street, Montcalm Street, and Bigelow Hill Road, Old Norwalk Road, Horn Hill Road. Some of it requires base. It's just surface. And the West Street portion is just the tiny little piece that did not get paved in last year's West Street, Savage Street project, where it continues straight through.
yeah.
And so the reclaim and the base stuff for the in-town street stop at Montcalm, and then there's the Bigelow Hill Road piece, Old Norwalk Road, and the Horn Hill Road. And remember, also out of our paving pieces is the large cross culvert that we're doing with the grant that we received, the funds we received from the state, that's on the, what road is it, Bruce?
Old County Road in Shawmut.
Thank you. Old County Road.
Okay. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a
So
second.
make a motion that we accept Wellman's payment for the paving and reclaim bid contract for $305,074.50.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Item 2146, ordered that the town council hereby considers and awards bids for fire and police building maintenance improvements, which is doors, windows, paint, concrete, brick, and repair.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion. There was discussion on the police department?
So we received 3 bids for this project. Believe it or not, this project was really difficult for us to get bids for. We had to put this up to bid more than once.
Yep.
And we finally were able to get some traction when we simply direct email to a bunch of the contractors who we knew, for the code enforcement officer knew did work here in town. But it was hard for us to get any traction on this. But one of the things that we would like to change is we're actually going to withdraw the the section of, for the work to be done by for the police department, which just needed to replace all exterior wood trim and wrapped in aluminum. We've decided that we can wait one more year and we'll look at having Public Works actually do that work next spring. So this would be just strictly for the work that needs to be done at the fire department. So that would put the low bid, still with Cavestone LLC, but it would be at $31,345, not the $37,710. I found the fact that we had a bid as high as $85,900
Yeah,
to
I
be
saw
a bit
that.
I saw that.
staggering.
A little bit of a difference.
And we don't believe that that construction company actually even visited the fire station and even looked at the job. So it was clearly someone just trying to, I don't know.
Yeah, I like what Keystone did, is the breakdown
Yeah.
of the bid, is how it should be.
Yep.
And that's the job they
They did a good
did
job.
on that.
I'm not familiar with the company at all. They actually got the specs from our website, but they did provide us with their insurance certificate, so they are fully insured. But we'll double check on a couple of references, that kind of stuff, but I believe they'll be able to get the job.
If we prove this, when will they actually start this project?
So this will be funded actually with the building capital improvement program account that we have, so they could start this at any time, actually. So as soon as spring is.
Is this just on the Main Street or Lawrence Ave Fire
Just the
Department?
Lawrence, just the Lawrence Ave
Okay,
building.
not no one of Fairfield
Just-
Center?
No,
No.
just the Lawrence Ave building. If you've spent any time looking at it, the soffits are rotten. Where the boarding has been done for where the police department used to be, that's all gotten rotten. The
Yeah.
paint's peeling off. The building just looks awful. And it needs to be taken care of before it starts to get worse.
Okay. Motion and a second?
You have to have a
Wait a
You could do a friendly
friendly
amendment.
amendment, yeah.
Friendly amendment and a
To accept Cavestone at, $31,345
$5.
For the fire station.
fire station only.
Correct.
And funds to come from the building capital improvement program?
Indeed.
Thank you.
Indeed, yeah.
Okay. All those in favor? Carries full. All right. So we will move on to item 2147. Order that the town council hereby authorizes the town manager to submit testimony in opposition of a proposed removal of Brookfield Renewable Energy Partners LP's Shaman Dam on behalf of the Fairfield Town Council. You all have the letter that we have to sign in your packet.
You'll have two different letters. One was the first one that was sent in the original packet, and then there was one that was changed, which the second draft that you received is the better draft of the two.
What's the second one?
Which one's which one?
So the one that's got the arrow bulleted points is the second one.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, got it.
I got it, yeah.
Got it. All right.
Okay.
Yeah, I got a chance to read this over. I got the chance to the email you sent Michelle on all that information.
Yes.
I don't think they really understand what was going to happen to the citizens if they actually really do this.
So it does appear to be that way. So when I attended the public hearing, first of all, their public hearing process was a bit confusing. They started out with a PowerPoint presentation, and then they said you could ask questions, and it was framed up so that you could ask questions about the PowerPoint presentation and not about the amendment. So
Nice.
folks kind of got into the role with it. So I originally asked a question about the PowerPoint presentation, but then I eventually did go back and ask them about the financial impact statement and why they said what
Yeah,
they said.
I read, yeah.
And that was one of the things that was concerning, and the fact that they said they just really didn't bother to look at it, I thought was a bit concerning, and so do quite a few other.
Yeah, I read too about the impact to the hydro dams, and the governor wants solar power instead of hydro dams. So I read that for her special program set.
So that's one of the things that they're saying is that the renewable energy from the hydro dams could be offset between the new solar that's about to come on board as well as potential wind power. So, because originally, in the original plan, these dams were not looked at because they needed the renewable energy that they generated kept the state in line with fulfilling their renewable energy goals, and there was no way to replace them. So remember, this plan was originally written in 1993. And so now the thought process that they used was that because of the change in solar and wind, they no longer needed the hydro dams to meet that goal for renewable energy. They could use the solar and wind generation. But the differences are great in what the scales would need to be. I don't know the math off the top of my head.
I'm just wondering too, how much employees actually take care of the dam at Shaman? How much will it affect?
I don't know how many they actually employ at the Shaman Dam. I'm not really sure.
It wasn't a big number, I don't.
I don't think it is a big
No.
number.
It was-
I don't think there's a lot of employees there. There's quite a few employees you figure between Waterville and Winslow's Lockwood and Kennebec Hydro, then the employees at Shawmut, and then of course the employees that are at the Weston Dam in Skowhegan. And then Brookfield's main offices are in Skowhegan.
Do they understand the impact too on businesses that need the high water to operate?
The biggest impact that's come out of all of this, besides the property taxes and sewer use fees that the municipality would lose, and not knowing what is going to happen to the riverbed and the riverbank, is that SAPI has estimated that it will cost them somewhere in the neighborhood of $50 million in order to change their intake and outfall pipes from the river. And during that time, of course, that would potentially lead to, well, more than likely would lead to a shutdown of the mill, the layoffs that go along with that. Huhtamaki does use water from the river. They have in the past used public water, so they have the ability to do that, but of course that comes at an increased cost as well. Huhtamaki has done layoffs because of the cuts that they received due to the school lunch program trays that they used to make that nobody needed because nobody's kids were in school. So they had those layoffs there. From what I've gathered, the impact will not be as great on Huhtamaki as it will on SAPI, but it will definitely have a substantial impact. They didn't put a number to it. But.
Michelle, the 50 million, is that just to extend the pipes out further?
And lower them.
Yep.
Yeah, but when that's July and August, when there is no water going down through there, what's their alternative?
Well, and they don't have one. And that's the other problem too. So that's one of the questions that was asked at the public hearing, was what will the impoundment look like? And nobody has been given that answer, and they have not provided that information. And they flat out said they didn't have it.
The tides too, the high and low tides.
And the other thing that I found interesting is that nobody at the Department of Marine Resources remembered the houses sliding into the river in Winslow when they took out the Fort Halifax Dam.
Right.
And the graves that were dislodged that had to be moved, because once those hydraulic pressures went away, all of that stuff slid down. So the gentleman said he did not recall or remember anything like that ever happening during that dam removal.
Yeah.
Also too,
It was really kind of strange.
within the area from Fairfield to Shawmut up to Hinckley, is the residential. How many residentials are close to the river?
I don't think we actually have that many that are close to the river. But what we do have, though, is the railroad that runs from Shawmut, pretty much the river bank, all
Right.
the way up through to
So it'll be
Sappy.
a washout.
And so there'd be a big concern about whether or not the rail trail would even be able to, that rail bed would be able to even stay in place.
Yeah, also in Winslow too, which they never talked about, was the aspect of how many jobs were lost because they used to get food for the lobster industry down there, alewives in the spring, and that was quite costly. There was a lot of people down there, more than what we can realize, and feeding
So
the
I know
lobstermen.
that there's been a lot of speculation about increased tourism and positive financial impacts on Augusta. I have reached out to the Augusta city manager, but he has not returned my calls, but have not also found anybody else that
I'm
can
concerned-
tell us what the financial gain was to the city of Augusta.
I'm concerned too, behind Main Street, where the old mill used to be. That would be more exposed and more dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of it would,
Okay.
it will
Yep.
generate some substantial questions as to what it will all look like.
Exactly.
And it's not necessarily that, none of us believe that the extinction of a species is good. Nobody believes that. But I also have to imagine, just like what they've said in the paper, that there's got to be a way to create a fish ladder that actually works. We could do all kinds of things in the world today, but
Was there ever a study done, or?
I do not know. So currently, the Shawmut Dam has been permitted through the town for their fish ladder project, pending DEP approval. And that approval has not been given. I believe those plans have been revised a couple of times. But in that timeline that I had sent you, you would see where that got put on hold because somebody was looking at actually purchasing the dams for removal and all of those different pieces. So that project is supposed to go back online, but it is now currently tied to Shawmut's relicensing. And what is most urgent about Shawmut is the fact that their license has actually already expired. They are on what is considered almost, what they said was borrowed time, where it does a 1-year renewal because of the fact that they have not determined yet whether they will not be renewed or not. And I also found that the letter that we received from Brad Farron and Scott Searway about the fact that, this is not just a suggestion, this plan has weight when it comes to the federal level, because if you think about our review that we did with our comprehensive plan, and if somebody wanted to do something and they came back and they said, well, this is in your comprehensive plan and it follows exactly what you want it to do, you'd be hard pressed to say, no, it's not an allowable practice when you've already said it's in your plan. Well, if you think about the fact that if your plan says, no, these dams are to be removed, and you're the entity that has to license them, why would you go against the state of Maine's plan where they're requesting removal?
Because I understand in the emails you sent, this was supposed to be some time down the road, and the governor sped it up, wanted that done.
So there's a lot of them that will be sometime down the road, because what they won't do is decommission the dams while they're still in the middle of their current license. Okay, so like I think the Lockwood license is 2036, or Kennebec Hydro, one of the Waterville-Winslow ones. So that's when they will start having that conversation about whether or not they should be relicensed. The issue that we have is that Shawmut's license is already up. And that's the problem that we have. So if they, within the next year, if this makes it into their plan, there's a very good possibility that their license would not get renewed, which means then the decommissioning process would start. Now, decommissioning doesn't happen overnight, but it doesn't take that long.
No,
Right.
takes a while.
Okay.
No, I'm done.
All right.
So with this letter, you're basically stating the fact that, and it's centered truly around the notice of agency rulemaking proposal that the fiscal impact on municipalities or counties is none, and the fact that that statement is false, and that it goes on to talk about the fact that we would lose $17.4 million in taxable value, resulting in approximately $389,000 in tax dollars lost every year, as well as quarterly sewer fees. One of the things that the Department of Marine Resources said that could be done is municipalities would increase revenue for recreational purposes. Well, that would be nearly 195,000 fishing licenses that we alone would have to sell to make up for those dollars.
No problem.
And then goes on to talk about other pieces of the significant societal concerns regarding the human factors, recognizing across the state. So it's basically stating the fact that you are not in favor of this plan, and that you are hoping that they will go back and take a look at this, because the fact that our community's well-being depends on a thorough research proposal for dam removal.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
But I second that.
All right. All in favor? Carries full. All right. Now we move on to item 2148, which is ordered that the town council hereby adopts updates to the Town of Fairfield Town Council Administrative Policies, Addendum A, fee schedule to include trash tickets for 30-gallon bags, $2 each, effective April 1st, 2021. Conditional use permit, $175 per application, plus cost of public hearing and postage, and cost of technical review if required by the planning board.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
How much was the trash tickets? I couldn't remember from last year.
They were $1.75.
$1.75.
Okay.
And they went up to
Just over a quarter.
$1.82 at Waste
Yeah.
Management based upon our contract.
Uh-huh, okay.
So the $2, so we have a built-in right now, it's a 4% annual increase. So this $2 should cover us for this year or next year.
Okay.
And then I think we'll need to have a real serious conversation with Waste Management if we get any higher than $2.
Okay.
But at this point, we also don't really have much of another option, so.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor? Carries full. Item 2149, ordered that the town council hereby signs Mill Island Park Improvement Mission, MIPIM, resolved to support the 2021 AARP Community Challenge Grant application specific to Mill Island Park improvements.
So moved.
Second.
Now, this is something that we started working on many years ago. when we first-
1977.
Yeah, and then when we first started the Economic Development Committee, as it is today, it was on our to-do list and everything else, and just never,
Yeah, and that's why it's being called a mission,
yeah.
because it's very long-term. The survey that we did, in the past month, I've worked with Garvin and Sabrina from Central Maine Growth Council and talked with Michelle, and the survey is going to be done at the end of the month, which is feeding into this whole grant process. What we would like to do, as the resolution states, is to improve the walking trails on Mill Island, and that would involve making sure that they're ADA accessible, and we'd like to pave them. So Michelle got a rough estimate, just for paving alone is going to be $40,000.
Yeah.
The paths around the island are actually incomplete. There's supposed to be a path based on the original documentation that went to the parking lot on the east side of the island. That was never completed.
Okay.
So we would want to go and complete that section of the pathway as well, and also include a lookout or a cleared area for where the walking bridge was, with signage for the walking bridge history, and of course, update the playground. The project in all would be roughly $50,000, and we're hoping that through the AARP Community Challenge Grant, maybe they could do some matching funds. And of course, there'll be in-kind donations as we get the ball rolling as well. It's a very doable thing. I can see us taking care of what we already have and making it better, and then maybe setting our sights higher in the future.
Is the grant a 50/50 split, or?
It varies. It
Okay.
depends. But based on what has been given before, the project is very similar to other endeavors throughout the state, but none of them like for $25,000, so, but this is a start.
Sure.
And-
Chances are we'll fund the entire project. In fact, I'm almost 100% certain that they won't fund the entire project.
No.
But there will be funds in addition to what so we have a playground reserve for the park maintenance kind of piece. And so what will happen is this is the plan, but depending on what all the funding ends up being, will determine exactly what the plan ends up
Right.
looking like.
right.
which is probably why a section of that trail was never completed.
That's what I'm thinking,
Because
too.
handicap accessible trails they are expensive and,
Right.
and they do cost quite a bit of money, so. But one of the things we will do is, so the informational panels that were in the park the last time that there was an improvement done there, those were actually very large printed pieces of paper put between 2 sheets of plexiglass that were not, their seals all let go years ago. So all of those informational signs, almost every single one of them, you can't even read them anymore. The plan now is to have them, with technology changes, they will actually be printed on aluminum themselves. So it'll be a printed sign as opposed to a sheet of paper that will get wet and mold and mildew and change. So there are some improvements that we're making that are going to be replacing what's already in existence, but with more durable and longer lasting material.
What's the trails right now? Just regular,
Just dirt.
So a portion of it is paved,
okay.
and then it ends at just dirt.
Yeah.
So we've looked at everything from crusher dust to all of those things. The paving piece is best if you're in a wheelchair, but we also understand that the cost of that, because the reason why it's so expensive is you have to remember it's hand-placed work. Usually it's difficult, to get the machines in there and that kind of stuff. So a lot of it's handwork that needs to be done. And we've looked at various different types of material, whether it be crusher dust or that kind of
Stone
stuff.
dust,
But then,
yeah.
that kind of thing.
And there is a section where the old foundation is. It's
Yes.
dipping and going up, which is not really acceptable for wheelchairs, so that would have to be leveled out. And,
So she's sinking.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Just some ADA stuff. And that's basically to know that it doesn't matter, how you manage to get around, you will have the ability to go around and enjoy the entire park and not only have to just go so far and then turn around and come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick question, do we have any reports of vandalism over there?
Oh, of course we do.
Do the police respond to any complaints, or
If we receive them.
we receive a,
Yeah.
The park is set up as a day park.
so in other words, don't go there at night?
It does have a sign, dawn to dusk.
Yeah,
Honest to
yeah.
goodness, it does. But either way. We
Yeah.
haven't had as many complaints this past year simply because of the fact that, well, one, the bathrooms haven't been open.
Right.
Because of COVID, our bathrooms have been closed the entire time. They were never opened last year. Because we don't clean them, right, we
Right.
clean them once a week kind of thing, not every couple hours sort of piece. So with COVID, we kept them closed. There are some options that we have for security pieces. The camera system that we have for our Green Road brush dump is a potential option for us, or possibility for security in there. Lighting would be a big thing, I think, lighting would be a good piece, but it's not on our list at the moment, just because of its expense.
Yeah.
A couple of people I had talked to me said, yeah, you don't go over there when the sun's going down.
Yeah.
Not the place to be.
Although I can remember back during my formative years, walking down there, it's a lot better than it was. Especially at the northern end.
But one of the things, if you remember a couple of years ago, it was probably about 4 years ago now, remember we had a very light snow winter, and Public Works spent a considerable amount of time on the brush removal down there.
Yes.
That cut down on the complaints substantially because the visibility was opened up, and so, and that's kind of some of what this work is going to do as well, is open up that visibility and allow less places for people to hide. If you go in there right now, you'll notice there was been some work done where there were a few trees that went all the way to the ground, and what was happening was every time they did maintenance work over there, mow the lawn and that kind of stuff, they were finding various different bits of paraphernalia underneath the trees. Those branches have actually been trimmed up, so there's no hiding underneath the bases of those trees anymore.
Right.
So we've taken those kind of steps to address the landscaping to help with that.
Yeah, and I think the drug dealing down there has lightened up considerably, too.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's what we hope.
So at the next meeting, I'll have more to report, because the The grant has to be submitted by April 14th.
Yeah.
And we'll have all our ducks lined up in a row, hopefully, when our next meeting occurs.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the last paragraph is relatively simple. It just says, "Now therefore be it resolved and declared, on behalf of the town of Fairfield, we are pleased to support the Mill Island Park Improvement Mission and the town of Fairfield's associated 2021 AARP Community Challenge Grant application. By supporting this initiative, we advocate for active community engagement that will enhance economic and community growth, which will bolster pride for our area for people of all ages." So that's basically what we're talking about tonight, is just approving it so we can push on to the grant. All in favor? Opposed? None. Will carry.
Thank you.
Seventh order of business, council workshop and other business. Discuss the land use ordinance proposed updates, medical marijuana dispensaries.
So this is a bring back from your last meeting. We were able to get you a bunch more information for this meeting. And we do have Code Enforcement Officer Nicole Martin on the line, as well as Hannah King, who is the attorney for Mark Crockett, but has worked on these kind of proposals in various places and knows much more about all of this than I do. But again, remember, the planning board had recommended an update to the land use ordinance that included medical marijuana dispensaries. The reason for that was because before, remember, there was only a certain number that were allowed
Right.
in the state. Those licenses had all been taken, and since then, the law has changed, which opens this up.
Yeah. I went on the MMA website. I know we got 14 in state licensed. But after 2021, they said unlimited after 2021.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so. And also too on the website, because I clicked on the Fairfield, they're advertising dispensaries already for the ones in Fairfield.
We don't currently have a dispensary,
They're advertising,
medical marijuana dispensary.
just, yep, they're advertising right on their website.
Ooh,
We have, I left my notes home, it's the one on Northbrook Road, northern,
The big one?
yeah, they're advertising. And I did find out we have 8 licensed,
Dispensaries.
just, no, 2 dispensaries and tier 4s, right to tier 4s in Fairfield. And it's 3 or 4 businesses at one location right on Northbrook Road.
none for medical.
I got this off the MMA website.
That we have so Nicole, can you hear us? Or can we hear you?
Apparently not.
Is your phone muted?
No. Nicole? I don't hear her. But no, we don't have any allowed. So there are medical marijuana businesses in town. There's quite a few. Because they were all grandfathered for when the
Right.
land use.
And they call themselves dispensaries.
Because we
Right.
gave them all business
Right,
licenses.
right.
But not dispensaries.
But-
So I'd be curious as to where those actually were, that's what they're listed as. Because I was not aware of that.
Yeah, I looked on the MMA website, typed in Fairfield, all the locations with, and where they're located and where their actually headquarters are.
Interesting. I'll have to check it. So, but anyway, this gave you additional information as to what they were looking for and also should answer some of the questions we had. Like, one of the questions was, why did the hours change? And it was just simply for the fact that they
Hello,
were.
can you hear me now?
In line.
Oh,
There you are.
Now we can hear.
Okay, sorry. So yes, those are adult use. marijuana businesses that are currently licensed in Fairfield.
Not medical. There's a difference. I'm sorry, I'm getting the remote so I can turn up the TV. I can't, she's hard to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those weren't medical dispensaries, those are adult use, which is different. They're two different classifications. So the retail,
Correct.
adult use, and then there's medical. There's two different kinds.
I don't want to argue with, but what I saw on the website, and on their website advertising this dispensaries, medical marijuana dispensaries.
Hello?
Because
We'll look it up.
I mean, they could be licensed by the state, but not by us.
No, because
We have medical marijuana caregivers in town,
Okay. That's that.
and they do have a right to sell medical marijuana
Okay,
Right,
that's what it is.
as a caregiver,
Caregivers.
right. When I saw on the website at MMA, it says dispensaries, and they're advertising on their personal websites. Because I Googled.
I'm not familiar with that.
And I Googled them all, where the locations were.
There's a medical, seem to be all over in Waterville.
Yeah, and that one in Waterville, that was much moved to Fairfield, has a license in Fairfield already.
I will look that up.
So basically, the big change is to consider medical, adult marijuana, oh, let me find the wording. Adult use marijuana facilities and dispensaries are now being considered the same thing. Is that correct, Hannah?
No,
Or someone?
no. they're
That
not the
is
same.
not the same thing.
So when the law changed,
No, the change is there used to be only 8 allowed medical marijuana dispensaries in the state of Maine. And what the rule change is, in January 2020, the information that you were given by the preliminary draft medical marijuana program rule is that they're opening up medical marijuana dispensaries to the medical marijuana cultivators and caregivers. And if they want to convert from a caregiver to a dispensary, there's no longer a block at the state level for them. They now can apply, which means they're going to be much more highly regulated than the current medical marijuana caregivers, that there are no local rules or regulations. So if they decide to move into becoming a dispensary, then these state rules will then apply to them. And we're just asking, the local business caregiver is asking that he be allowed to apply for that license and operate as a dispensary.
So if someone wants to have a dispensary, can they have sections where other people can come in and dispense marijuana from that facility?
Meaning have people work as a caregiver underneath them? No. They're going to control the business as their business as a dispensary. They're not going to have multiple room rentals like they currently do to multiple different caregivers. They are going to be the business owner and operator.
Can they have different names on these businesses, or it has to be one name?
They can have different aspects to their business. They can cultivate, they can produce, do what they call production, and they can also sell. So they can do 3 different things. They may name each one of their activities a different name, sure, but they would still be one medical marijuana dispensary owner doing that under one license.
So, Hannah, in my mind, I can see an adult marijuana facility having a section or a building set up so that individual growers can go in and sell their product. Is that
So-
what we're talking about?
No. So a registered dispensary it's a single entity. So a single entity would apply for a dispensary registration. If they were able to get that registration from the state, and they can't get that registration unless the municipality amends its ordinance to allow that particular use. And they're able to get all the local permits and licenses, because currently right now Fairfield does allow dispensaries, but they fall under your controlled substance facility definition. And so if I wanted to apply for a dispensary license, I would be a single company that would apply for a dispensary license, and I would operate that company. I could have employees, but that single company would cultivate, manufacture, and could retail. No one else could come in and sell out of my retail store. That is an odd phenomena that has popped up as a way for kind of, quite frankly, caregiver registrants who are limited to a single storefront to try to all have storefronts, but that a registered dispenser would not be allowed to have any other entity come in and sell marijuana out of its retail store.
Would they be able to grow it on the premises, some other entity?
So that would be up to you, but whatever their licensed premises was from the state, if the state said this portion of the building is your licensed premises for your registered dispensary, then no other medical marijuana cultivator could come in and cultivate in that space. Again, they could have employees that are helping them cultivate the marijuana that the company that's registered as a dispensary is authorized to cultivate. Right. But it's, part of what we've seen happen is that we see what we kind of have come to colloquially call caregiver condos, where you have a big building, and because caregivers were required to be smaller entities, they could only have 30 plants or 500 square feet of flowering canopy, that you would see multiple caregivers sited within a business. And so you have multiple businesses, multiple registrants, all cultivating marijuana in one space. The idea here, part of the idea and part of what Mr. Crockett would like to do is have one license, a dispensary license, that would cultivate all the medical marijuana rather than having multiple caregivers that are leasing space within the building. From a regulatory standpoint, there's a benefit to this for two reasons. One, dispensaries are much more highly regulated, and two, there's one licensed operator. Right. So if something goes sideways, there's one person to go after. And so that is the basis of the proposal, is that he would like to move away from this idea where there's caregivers that are renting spaces in his building and just operate a single dispensary license that he himself has gotten from the state, and cultivate, manufacture, and sell pursuant to that license, but it's just him and his business that's doing that.
I see on here that you're looking to change this so that it would be included in the village and rural districts where it is not allowed currently. Where are they planning on putting this place at?
Because we have some in the village.
It already exists. So right now at 238 Norwich Walk Road, there is an adult use cultivation facility, but there's also a caregiver condo. There is a building where there are multiple caregivers that are sited, because you allow both adult use marijuana and caregivers to site within your village and your rural residential zones. The way we drafted the proposal is that the proposal would treat dispensaries the same way that you, from a land use perspective, that you treat adult use marijuana facilities, and from our perspective, and I think a lot of municipalities feel the same way, that makes sense, because from a land use perspective, they're identical. You're cultivating marijuana, so your odor concerns, your security concerns, your traffic concerns, they're no different for medical marijuana cultivation than they are for adult use cultivation. And right now, none of the performance standards that are specific to marijuana, they're all within your adult use marijuana portion of your land use ordinance. And so if I wanted to come in and open a dispensary, it is a conditional use in certain zones, again, under it's called a controlled substances facility. But I wouldn't have to meet the performance criteria that you've decided are important performance criteria for managing land use concerns for adult use marijuana. proposed amendment that we've submitted, and I think that the planning board recommended, would say, yeah, you can come do a dispensary, and you can do a dispensary in the same places that we allow for adult use marijuana, but you have to meet these same performance criteria. You've got to go through the same permitting process, and in addition to that, there's an annual licensing process. So right now, I don't believe that you have a licensing fee for your registered caregivers. I think that this amendment would be a $5,000 annual licensing fee for anybody that wanted to operate a dispensary. So it's additional revenues for a use that is, I mean, it really isn't going to change. Essentially, the caregivers that are within this building are going to be asked to vacate, and a single operator is going to take over that space, assuming there's a change in the ordinance and they can get all the applicable state licenses and local licenses. But if this ordinance amendment passes, they're able to get the permits and the licenses from both the state and from the town. It would be a $5,000 annual fee going to the town as well.
So the parts that are important to remember is that, and it was a while ago that we did all of this, but when regular retail adult use went into play, you had to opt into A, B, or none of the above. So there's retail, there's medical, or there's none. We opted into the retail. We did not opt into the medical at all, because we already had so many medical licenses already in place that their only obligation to the community was the one-time $10 business license that they filed when they first originally went into business, and that was it. So at the time, we concentrated just on the adult use for the retail side of it, and knew that the medical would come later. So the way that this works is that if you were going to do adult use, we've already included everything in here. This is just now allowing something that we already allow for adult use, retail piece, to actually happen on the medical side, or the medical classification. And then the second thing, I just went through MMA's website, went to the state's website, which is the link for the Office of Marijuana Policy. There are medical dispensaries listed. There's one in Biddeford, Ellsworth, Auburn, Caribou, Brewer, Gardner, and Portland. I don't see any listed in the town of Fairfield at all.
I Googled them.
So, but
Can I offer some insight into that quickly? It's a little bit, the term dispensary across the country and kind of colloquially was the initial term that people used for any store that sold marijuana. And we decided in Maine that we were going to use the term dispensary very specifically in our law. But people oftentimes, particularly if they're coming from out of state, refer to our adult use retail stores as dispensaries as well, because that is kind of a generally accepted term for any store that sells marijuana or any place that sells marijuana, even though under our law it has this very specific, narrowly defined meaning.
so that might be it. Thank you. Thank you for that, Hannah.
I went on the PowerPoint too there, Michelle. I found more information.
Where?
On the PowerPoint, there's a PowerPoint presentation in there.
Okay.
They said we have 14 in state, and by 2021 it'll be unlimited.
So hopefully all of this new information answered all of your questions. Do you have any more questions about this? Remember, this is still subject to public hearing.
Yeah.
And all of that. That will have to be advertised and go through all of that. But hopefully we got you some more information and
Sounds good.
we were good. And again, you should have gotten the pieces from the preliminary draft program. I do have the full program, if you need that. It just was a really big document. And then brought the land use ordinance with me this time too, Mark, so just in case you had any more questions.
I do have a question on the land use ordinance.
Sure.
I've read in the memorandum, the rural district and the village district. Isn't the village district Main Street?
No, Village
That's the
District
Main
is up.
Street District.
Oh,
That is the Main Street district, yeah, it is, sorry.
Village is
So
up
village
Northwood
is up
Road.
in the center,
That's a center.
And also
That's a
Shawmut.
village.
and Shawmut would be a
Shawmut
village.
as well is
Shawmut
village.
would also.
And then in Hinckley as well, there's a village district
Yep.
Yeah,
near the Hinckley Bridge. So you think about all of your,
can I point out the land use chart as well? Do you have that in front of you?
Yes.
yeah,
Oh,
that was,
yeah.
yeah, we had it last,
We had it last.
yeah,
and the map is actually on the wall.
It's on the wall right
Yeah.
here.
Oh, yeah.
So those green
If you
zones, those are the
look
villages.
under that chart of land uses, and as Hannah pointed out, under controlled substances, you currently allow that in the land use ordinance, that was before I started working here, so it would have been on your ordinance
Yeah.
listed as an allowed use in the Main Street district. So you probably want to amend that to remove that from Main
Get
Street
that removed.
We
district.
should have none on Main District.
Yeah, that's another part of the amendments that they would like to see done, is to get
Correct.
that fixed.
That's
No.
right.
Yeah.
All right.
So we're going to amend the Main District to not to have it?
Right.
Okay.
Because you can't use adult there now. Adult use retail is not allowed in the Main Street
Yeah.
district. And.
Correct.
But based upon this language that we have, technically, if you wanted to come into town and put in a methadone clinic, you can do it on Main Street. This will amend
Correct.
this,
Or-
that is not allowed in that area.
Or the medical marijuana dispensary also.
Right.
Right.
So that it's not allowed in that
Yeah, that
district.
would mess with a lot of churches and schools and other
Well, it's
federal
just-
buildings
Yeah.
that federally regulated. They get their money from, so.
Right? It would be a good time to clean that up.
Yeah.
Yep, and get that fixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good?
Is that a consensus to move forward and schedule a public hearing?
Yep.
Schedule the public hearing. Thank you,
for it.
Hannah and Nicole, for joining
Thank
us
you.
this evening.
Yes,
We
thank you both.
appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
All right, let's move on to other council business, and we'll start with Stephanie.
I have none.
Michael?
All set.
The spring, it feels like spring now out there, so it's getting warmer
Till Sunday.
to Sunday, yeah. And exposing a lot of ruts in the roads too. So just be careful, residents, driving down all these roads and the potholes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
it.
We've got a little
Yeah.
frost heaves in different places.
Uh-huh.
Odds and ends, so.
That's it?
Not as bad as it usually is, but
No.
it's still there. And I don't have anything either, so if we can,
Mark?
How about Mark?
No, I'm good.
no, Mark already,
He already said no.
gave
Already
me
waved
the
him off.
thing. He already waved me
I
off.
missed that. Thank
So
you.
at this time, we will recess and sign all the documents that require the signatures of council members. We're in recess.
Please make sure you take care to watch your name.